I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are BIMTV, here to do our 134th episode of Velocities in Music, Dr. Dog 2010 Shame Shame. Tom, want to try to do some background? We're not real familiar with Dr. Dog.
They've been around since the early 2000s. This is their 6th album, and they're from Philadelphia. Just kind of I guess there's not too much interesting to say about their history. Just guys who want to play some music. All their members and former members, they all give each other and themselves nicknames that all happen to start with the letter T, which is based on what role they play, I guess, in the band and to each other as friends. So that's just kind of a quirky thing. Not too important to know, but the reason I mention it is just that little quirkiness, that fun-loving, friendly nature comes out in their music a lot. In this album.
Yep. They opened for My Morning Jacket back in the day.
Yeah.
And that's really,
very fitting.
Very fitting. And if you listen to Shame Shame, I think that's one of the things you'll pick up on is that kind of indie folk.
Yes.
But to me, this, like the first listen I had with Dr. Dog, Beatlesque. Yeah. Holy crap, these guys have all these modern classic rock influences, the Stones, but really when it comes down to it, how they're writing their songs is just like how the Beatles wrote their songs. And the bass sounds just like Paul McCartney's bass lines.
That's the first thing I noticed.
I know.
You start with the song Stranger, and boom, 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 boom.
It sounds like Paul McCartney.
It does. It totally does. Sounds like something off Rubber Soul or something like that. But very good bass. I mean, anytime that you can start off with a strong bass line like that, you've got my attention.
Yep. There's a couple different vocalists. They kind of got more airy, somewhat kind of whiny voices. Not very accessible as far as like mainstream vocals go.
Perfect for indie though.
Right.
For the indie scene.
Right. It reminded me of like Wayne Coyne-esque.
Yeah. One thing I wrote down that I think these guys kind of sound like is early Flaming Lips.
Yeah. Good
like
call.
Late '80s, early to mid '90s.
Like audio
Flaming
transmission
Lips.
from the satellite art.
Yes.
Jay Retard also.
I also picked up on a little bit, kind of a more indie Vampire Weekend.
I can see that
at times.
Yeah, but these guys this is the quintessential just daytime summer music. Like it's just fun, it's bright, its focus is on frivolous, just songwriting. It's not overly conceptual. It's just good, solid indie pop songwriting. And I like that.
And that is part of the charm of it, but also part of one of the only things that holds it back is just the fact that it doesn't feel too ambitious.
Yeah. I mean, this album, and Shame Shame, is very solid considering what the band set out to do when they were making it. It's all about scope. I'm an accountant. I do auditing. It's all about scope to me, and they set out to do something. What their scope was is, hey, we want to make a good, short, 11-track indie pop album that has a whole bunch of good ditties in it, and that's what they did, and they nailed it, and they did a very good job at that. It's just that their scope wasn't their context wasn't big enough to really just be mind-blowing, so that they didn't be. So, I mean, you can't really hold that against them, so this music is almost functional to it, in some sense.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, it really fits, well, exactly the kind of day that it is right now here in central Iowa. It's a hot, summer, fun, bright day, and there's Dr. Dog for you right there.
It fits. I don't have much else to say about this.
I really like the vocal variety. I like the way that the vocalists switch it up. It keeps it, for an album that lots of good songwriting, but very similar sounds and moods throughout the album. The variety in the vocals really kept it moving for me. I guess is the way to put it.
The songs, there's a lot of song diversity. The songs don't sound exactly the same. Now they're using a lot of pop structures. That I always criticize when it's more rock music, and it even wears on me here.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the songwriting's vibrant enough that it hides some of that, and I also just feel like it's more fitting in the pop genre. It's still, though, you could play with it more. Lyrics, pretty good lyrics. There's only a couple times where I'm like, eh. But like one of the lines in Where'd All the Time Go, track 5, is she gets dressed up like a pillow so she's always in bed. Like little quirky lyrics like that just make you like very imagery sense. centered and just really cool.
I like that this band has kind of a, they have a kind of a 60s or 70s sound.
Really drawing
in
on
the
those
production,
classic.
yeah, in the songwriting, almost kind of like Supertramp even a little bit.
Yeah.
It just very, I don't know. I see them fitting with some of those psychedelic bands. They're a little less psychedelic. I mean, almost like a less psychedelic, like Of Montreal,
Right.
kind
Yeah,
of.
that's a good call.
But they fit with that sound. I mean, Of Montreal is obviously a more modern band, but they also, you know, draw a lot of influence from that kind of 60s and 70s things that were going on in that kind of hippie Summer of Love area. Well, they take that feeling and just bring it into more modern indie songwriting, and it's very enjoyable. It's very enjoyable to listen to. Just to kind of reiterate, really the only one drawback is just that it doesn't seem that ambitious. It doesn't seem like they were going for much, but what they were going for, they hit right about at its peak. The only other thing I want to comment on real quick, just for fun, is track 10, Jackie Wants a Black Eye. Very funny song title, but I wanted to point out that I'm very glad that that is the title they went with, because if it wasn't the title of the song, I totally would have thought that when he says it, that he said Jackie wants a black guy. Because that's what it sounds like. Did you pick up on that?
I didn't. But
I was like, wait, I was like, oh no, that's the name. Because, I mean, they're both very random lyrics, but that's what it sounds like.
That would be a little bit too touchy of a subject for a band like Dr. Dog to embrace, I think.
I just thought it was funny, the kind of lyrical ambiguity there. So I'm glad that they titled that song what they did. But, anything else you want to say? Ready to pick tracks?
Sure.
I'll go first if that's cool. I'm going to pick the first two tracks, Stranger and Shadow People, and then track 4, Unbearable Why. Great song. It has this kind of atmospheric kind of chorus that was very fresh.
I actually have track 1, Stranger, down below YouTube.
Oh, okay, great.
So that's pretty cool. I like track 2, Shadow People, a lot. I mean, that song just... It really gets me pumped up when I'm listening to it. Track 4, Unbearable Why, excellent song. And track 5, Where Did All the Time Go? I'll go ahead and rate it first.
Okay.
I'm going to give this album a 73. I think that you know, what it does extremely well, but that's all it does, you know? It doesn't really hit it out of the park. I mean, it can't... Like I said, it's just so constrained to its scope that it does a very good job in accomplishing what they set out to do. It just didn't set out to do as much as some other bands, so...
I'm also going to give it a 73.
Alright.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and it's good.
Yeah, this is definitely one that it might be your favorite album. If it's not your favorite album, it's definitely one I think most people will get a lot of love out of. So that's it for Dr. Dog. You got anything else you want to throw in?
No.
So let's questionize this. I was doing such a good job coming up with questions on the fly, and now I'm just bleh, bleh. So what would you want to see in indie pop music? Would you prefer that it's just, not doesn't set out to change the world and it's just simple and fun, or would you prefer that it, kind of that bands that are in the indie pop genre kind of expand and go for, a bigger, better sound and something more conceptual? Because, we did Freelance Wells and they were able to accomplish like indie pop and electronica in that, and and they were able to have a bigger scope and accomplish that. So that's what the question we'll ask today. So let us know what you think about, indie pop and where bands in the indie pop genre should go with their music. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And together we are moving music critique forward.